One of the main events on the planet is the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, a gathering of the Global South, which has declared an economic and political war on the West, and specifically the United States of America. This is all that the media are talking about. A powerful alliance. The bear, the dragon, and the elephant. Are these three changing everything? These are all headlines, mostly from Russian-based or Russian-language publications. China's statement stunned Trump. I read this from a well-known blogger. Let's not mention his name so as not to advertise him. How does he know that this statement stunned Trump? He was probably sitting in the bathroom and suddenly found out. Yeah, well, whatever. And the reshaping of the world has begun. If you look at it superficially, it does seem like that's how it is. Well, let's try to break through the words and images and get to the essence. What happened? What? And what became of it? What exactly changed as a result of all this? The Show's Summit 2025, the Show's Summit 2025 in China, has ended. And as we were told, new agreements have been reached between China, Russia, India, and a number of other countries. Economic and energy cooperation were discussed, as well as the creation of alternatives to American financial institutions and strengthening the role of the Global South in world politics. What this means is not very clear to me yet. So will everyone follow China's policy? It doesn't really matter. Russia and China have agreed. Now we're getting into some specifics about the construction of the Power of Siberia 2 gas pipeline. Well, of course, they reached an agreement, they announced it earlier at the summit, to increase gas supplies from the Russian Federation to China. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization will begin creating independent financial systems, as they said. What does independent mean? Independent from whom? From the United States, for settlements in national currencies. At the same time, not just some specific yuan. When they talk about the yuan as an alternative, no, they mean in national currencies. And at the same time, reducing dollar reserves to a minimum. This minimum is not defined. So, well, it's up to each person. If you really want to achieve results, you make agreements. We cut it in half, add the amount of dollars we have today, and then switch to something else, like the yuan, for example. They won't switch to the yuan, each has their own approach. What is settlement in national currency? It means barter exchange. That is, well, just imagine, I'll try to explain now. Russia sold oil to Pakistan. Pakistan, in today's situation, settles in dollars, which you can then take to Japan and buy cars from them. But in this case, under this agreement, Pakistan settles in its own currency. Their money is not needed by anyone in the world. That means you can't buy cars in Japan with it, and no one will sell you wine in France either. So you have to go to Pakistan and look for what you can get from them for that money. If you can't find anything, then you just have a certain amount of paper printed by Pakistan in whatever quantity they want. They haven't signed anything saying you can't print money. They just print a lot of money, pay Russia for its oil, and that's it for 100 years ahead. And use it. Well, of course, Russia won't go for that. So I think Russia will take a different route. They have the Mujahideen. What else can they take? There's absolutely nothing else to do with their money. Now China has announced that it will provide Shanghai Cooperation Organization countries with loans totaling $1.6 billion. In fact, China has been doing this for a long time. And by the way, the European Union is doing the same thing. They go to underdeveloped countries and offer them a lot of money. From these countries and the European Union's perspective, it's not much money. But there's this little thing, just sign here, just sign, don't pay attention. We're saying don't stick your pig snout into competition with us. That is with us, read, with France and Germany. You have no right to compete with us. That's why Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, and other new European Union members are losing their industry and entire industrial base. They've lost their fishing fleet there. And the youth, instead of working at home, go abroad to earn money, and some of them end up staying there, in China. He attaches his own conditions, like the development of mineral resources and, so to speak, political alignment in the wake. In all those UNs and similar bodies, they just do what China wants. So, nothing new here. So, the sum of 1.6 billion for China for China's level, well, I don't know, for India with its 1.6 billion people, that would be $1 per person. So, Russia is the world's gas station. For them, it's not that great either. Well, I mean, they don't just throw around a billion, but it's not something, as they say, that would make the nightingales start singing. The purpose of the meeting was to form a bloc to oppose the unilateral economic and sanction pressure from the United States. So this is all a reaction to the sanctions, as everyone rightly says. Nothing is clear here at all. If the United States shuts off the South, that is, this united access to the markets of the United States, Canada, Japan, England, and the European Union, who are they going to sell their products to? Who the hell needs their products? To Indonesia, are they going to ship them there? To Malaysia, are they going to ship them there? Where? I don't understand. So peasants in China will buy what, I don't know, the buyer from the United States didn't buy. And what's the salary of a peasant in China? So when I was there about 12 or 15 years ago, it was $6 a month. Now they say it's per day. Now they say it's become $12 a day. And what we call disposable cash, meaning the amount you have left after you've paid, for absolutely necessary things like food, housing, drinks, medicine, and so on. How much money do you have left to spend? Well, in China, these people have no money to spend at all. What are they planning to sell to them? But what is the question? He often discussed building a multipolar world. On stage, China on stage, I mean, when they were coming up on stage to take pictures, China, Russia, India, North Korea, and others were holding hands, hugging, and vowing their joint desire to fight against the United States imperialists. And with their accomplices, meaning the Western countries, NATO, and so on, yes. It seems like Putin was dragging out negotiations with Trump to wait for this wonderful moment. A demonstration of the strength and weight of the new union of 3 or even 4 billion people on the planet. Schaus released a declaration with the following statements. Now we're moving on to specifics, at least the ones that are written down, not just them stirring the air. Condemnation of United States and Israeli strikes on Iran. So they gathered and condemned it. This is serious, a serious influence on world politics. There is no condemnation of Russia, which has destroyed half of Ukraine. Second, a call for a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. There is no condemnation of the bloody killings of Jews. 2. A multifaceted view of things. That's right, yes, an honest view. Yes, he kills Jews after all. Who cares about Jews? Who feels sorry for Jews? That's right. Yes, they're Jews after all. Third, condemnation of terrorism. They all declared and signed it in every form. That is, supporting terrorism by giving them weapons, money, and training them. This is included in all forms. So the report on Russian and Iranian support for terrorists is not attached. So not in all forms. Fourth, joint condemnation of separatism. It's not clear at all what's going on. How will the countries of the Global South, which finance separatists in other countries of the Global South, get out of this? Fifth, they are going to recognize Afghanistan's independence, neutrality, and peaceful status. Honestly, I don't understand this at all. Sixth, the right of countries to shut down the internet, meaning control over the information their citizens receive. Now they have an international law. Russia can say, I'm doing this in accordance with international agreements. That's it. So freedom of speech, the right to information, and government accountability to citizens are not even mentioned there. Well, who would listen to you, right? Yeah? I really like how liberal journalists are thrilled about how these people, put America, especially Trump, in their place. For some reason, Ukrainians are especially happy about it, even though at the same time they're asking America and Trump for help. Seventh, statement against the militarization of space. That's because the United States is far ahead in this area. So it's okay to militarize the sea, the land underground, but where only the West has power for now, that's not allowed. And we think that if it's allowed in the sea, then it should be allowed in space too. That's it. Eighth, expansion of green cooperation between India, China, and Russia, the biggest polluters of soil, oceans, and atmosphere in the world. An interesting position on Iran. Not to invade, not to inspect, not to bomb, and to trust Iran at its word, but without verification. Their claim of wanting only peaceful nuclear energy, along with their statement that they'll destroy Israel as soon as they build an atomic bomb, should be seen as a joke. And by the way, it was an April Fool's joke. Even though they say it every day, it's still an April Fool's joke. What consequences can the West and the United States expect? India will start exporting to Russia, meaning some goods won't go to the United States markets. That's how they see it. And India won't be as affected by the sanctions imposed on it for trading with Russia. I don't really understand how Russia can replace the United States. Here come the United States to us. Based on the statistics, what happened? Not empty words, not empty statements, not baseless claims. Oh, not baseless claims, some kind of statistics, yeah. The world imports goods into the United States worth $3 trillion a year. $3 trillion a year. Into Russia, the world imports $270 billion. So, well, if you divide one by the other, without a calculator, it comes out to 12. With a calculator, maybe you'll get a more precise number. So we buy 12 times more goods, meaning the purchasing power of our market is 12 times greater than Russia's. But what about the global South saying to the West, we will live separately from you, we will trade among ourselves, we will make money without selling to you, and moreover, we will buy very little from you so that you suffer. For the coming years, the countries of the global South, let's say for the next 20 years, though, I think it will be longer, but let's say 20 years, they won't be able to earn even close to what they are earning today by selling goods to the non-global West. If an Iron Curtain is put down, that's also an option, like in the Union of the Soviet Socialist Republics. Yes, if you lower the standard of living and start rapidly developing technologies, especially modern ones, then after some time you can bring the standard of living back to today's level. So in Russia, India, and China, half of the population is still living in poverty even now. It will get even worse in the near future, yes, until they get back to the previous level. Besides, isolation usually leads not to an increase in prosperity, but to a decline in the standard of living. To riots, then to a harsh reaction from the authorities, and the transformation of the country or countries into a digital concentration camp, like in China or maybe even like in North Korea. Both options have already been well tested. I don't understand. Well, let's be serious. No more jokes, so to speak, no more antics and grimaces. I don't understand the economic meaning of the agreements at Shanghai Cooperation Organization 25. Well, just because I don't understand doesn't mean they don't exist. Yes, politically, I understand China is trying to dominate by uniting countries, that is, to fight a common enemy. But economic barter and internal deals in local currencies, which is basically the same as barter, yes, won't replace currencies like the dollar or the euro, which means that the trio can't give up Western markets. In fact, there's only one important question: the West's reaction to the attempt to create a second center of the world, which, well, opposes the existing one, right? And Sunnis, by the way, don't participate in the global South in any way, which means that 1.2 billion followers of the Sunni branch of Islam are not involved. They are with us, not with them. India, China, and Russia don't know how to create new technologies, otherwise they would be doing so. They either buy from the United States or Israel, or they steal. If you cut off China and India from the development of scientific knowledge, just don't let them in, don't sell to them, don't teach there. Yes, America, which has pulled ahead, has been in the lead for many years, and yes, it will pull even further ahead. Russia doesn't need new technologies at all, not at all, yes. Oil and gas can be extracted traditionally. In order to create an environment in their countries for the development of science and technology, it is necessary. Well, from my point of view, at least 2 generations. A complete shift in policy from oppression to freedom, and then the creation of a free market atmosphere, which neither China nor Russia will do, and India simply doesn't know how. Based on everything mentioned above, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization can fulfill China's goal of leading the union of the discontented, strengthening China, and making it more resilient in its struggle with the United States of America. Right now, the struggle is economic. But it won't solve the problems raised by the other participants. India, China, and others like them won't be able to exist and even maintain today's standard of living, either fully or partially, even if they break off relations and stop trading on Western markets. We could set up production within 3 to 4 years. All in all, what do we actually need here in the United States and Europe and Japan to survive without them? Well, they do supply us with some things we need, but in 3-4, maybe 5 years, we'll either build it ourselves or find new partners who can supply us with those things. And for the global south, in my opinion, it would take 20 to 50 years, even under good conditions, to replace the buyer called the West with a buyer called comrades from the global south. Comrades from the global south. And even then, it's unclear whether they can do it with their way of governing citizens. This method is called enslavement. Even if they set this goal for themselves and start acting, it's unlikely they'll achieve the same results as a free and motivated, truly motivated person. In general, my conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, is that because of the relationships within the societies of these countries, they won't be able to win. They are doomed to fail. Period. Not even a comma, just a period.